Have you ever felt like you're just pushing and pushing towards some goal and it's just draining, completely exhausting?
Oh, absolutely. We've all been there.
But then other times, things just seem to flow, effortlessly almost. Success comes, maybe even joy.
Yeah, it's a strange contrast, isn't it?
It really is. And today, we're doing a deep dive into a framework that, well, it offers a really unique perspective on why that happens.
Mm.
It suggests there might be these unseen, uh, energetic forces influencing pretty much every decision we make.
Mm-hmm.
Our main source for this is the work of Dr. David R. Hawkins. Specifically, his book, Power versus Force. Heard of it?
Definitely. It's quite influential in certain circles.
Right. And his core idea, the big one, is this sharp distinction he draws
Yeah.
between what he calls true power, uplifting, sustainable, aligned with truth and force.
Which is more about coercion, manipulation. It needs constant energy just to keep going. It burns out.
Exactly. And what makes Hawkins' approach so, well, interesting, maybe even controversial for some.
Is his methodology?
Yes. He used applied kinesiology muscle testing, claimed it could measure human consciousness.
On a scale, right. 0 to 1,000 as a way to gauge things like truth, love, even enlightenment.
It's a pretty big claim. So our mission today, unpack this, see how this power versus force idea plays out in personal choices, big societal changes, health, business, even art and genius. It touches everything,
So
apparently.
it's quite encompassing.
By the end, you should have a really solid grasp of this surprising, thought-provoking concept, a shortcut to understanding it.
Sounds good.
Let's start with where it all came from for Hawkins himself. His origin story is powerful. He'd been suffering from chronic illnesses for years, really hit rock bottom.
Right. He describes this profound, spontaneous experience.
Yeah, his ego just dissolved, he said, overwhelmed by peace, unity, and incredible energy.
A state of very high consciousness, as he later termed it.
And that personal transformation, that feeling, is what really kickstarted his whole research journey into consciousness and truth.
It gave him a direct personal reference point for those higher states.
Okay, so let's jump into the ideas. First off, think about your own decisions. Are they purely rational, logic only?
Most of us like to think so.
But Hawkins suggests maybe not. He argues that a lot of our behavior is driven by unconscious energy fields, collective beliefs, things we absorb without even realizing it.
Right. And to understand that, we really need to get into his calibration scale first. That 0 to 1,000 map of consciousness, the absolute crucial point is the number 200. That's the dividing line.
Okay, 200. What's below it?
Below 200 is force. Think emotions like shame, guilt, apathy, fear, grief, even anger and pride. These states, he said, are draining. Negative energy.
Got it. And above 200?
That's power. Courage is the first step, right at 200. Then neutrality, willingness, acceptance, reason. Moving up towards love, joy, peace, and finally enlightenment way up near 1,000.
So power states are uplifting, sustaining. Force states drag you down.
Fundamentally, yes. That's the core distinction.
Okay, that helps. Let's use an example. Think about Clara. She logically chose finance.
Yeah.
Practical, secure major. Makes sense on paper.
Sure does. Seems rational.
But when she looked deeper, she realized it was coming from fear. Fear of insecurity, disappointing people.
So according to Hawkins' scale, that's force. Fear calibrates around 100.
Exactly. And it felt draining to her, unfulfilling. So she took this leap, started studying art therapy, something she loved but had dismissed.
A courageous move, likely pushing past that 200 mark.
Right, and things started clicking. She felt energized, purposeful. Her career actually took off.
So that shift from fear around 100 to joy and purpose, maybe 400 plus, that's the power versus force difference in action.
A perfect illustration. Now, this connects to another really big idea of Hawkins.
The universal database.
Yeah, this concept that consciousness itself can access this field of information beyond time and space.
It sounds a bit out there at first, doesn't it?
It does. So how did he claim we tap into it? How did muscle testing fit in? What was the rationale?
Well, Hawkins framed it in terms of quantum physics and non-local consciousness. The idea that everything's interconnected in this fundamental field of consciousness.
Okay.
And muscle testing for him was just a biofeedback tool, a way for the body to register information that the conscious mind might not be picking up. He did tons of experiments. Imagine someone holding a sealed envelope. If it had the name of, say, a notorious war criminal inside, the person's arm muscle would test weak. They didn't know what was inside consciously.
Right.
But if the envelope held the name of a great humanitarian, the muscle stayed strong.
Wow. So the body knew.
That was his interpretation. An intuitive detection of truth, bypassing the intellect. He knew it sounded unconventional, but he pointed to the consistency of the results he got.
It definitely challenges how we think about knowing things. And he used this to calibrate stuff.
Pretty much anything. Ideas, people, books.
So like the example of spiritual texts, the Bible, Tao Te Ching, they calibrated high.
Yes, above 500 in the realm of love, according to his research.
But something like Mein Kampf.
Calibrated very low, below 100, in shame and guilt territory.
So he saw it as a way to objectively assess
Mm-hmm.
integrity, truthfulness.
That was the claim. An energetic measure of integrity, independent of opinion or belief.
Let's make the scale more personal again. You mentioned James's story.
Right, James. Lived in deep apathy, calibrating around 50, feeling worthless, disconnected. It was a long struggle.
What shifted things for him?
He stumbled upon a spiritual book, one Hawkins calibrated high, around 540. It wasn't magic, but it was a catalyst.
Okay.
He started meditating, doing forgiveness work, which was incredibly hard for him. Slowly, painstakingly, he climbed.
Through different levels.
Yeah, through grief, then hitting courage at 200, starting to take action, then eventually reaching acceptance around 350.
And the depression.
It genuinely lifted. He even became a counselor himself, helping others. It shows that movement up the scale is possible, though often gradual and difficult.
That's powerful. So thinking bigger picture, how do cultural norms fit in, these social imprints Hawkins talked about?
They can be huge factors. They can trap individuals or even whole groups in those lower levels: shame, guilt, fear. They become like default settings.
Like Aisha's story. Growing up, feeling shame just for being female.
Exactly. Internalizing that cultural expectation, calibrating way down at 20, feeling constrained, silenced for years.
But she broke free.
Through therapy, finding empowering role models, challenging those deep-seated beliefs, it took immense courage.
Moving up to scale.
Right. Through reason, challenging the why, and then into love for herself and others, she ended up becoming a human rights advocate, turned that constraint into power.
Amazing. Can whole societies shift like that?
Hawkins believes so. He often pointed to South Africa. Under apartheid, the collective consciousness calibrated low, around 175, pride, anger, fear dominating.
A system based on force.
Absolutely. But then Nelson Mandela emerged. His message of reconciliation, forgiveness, Hawkins calibrated that around 500 plus, love and reason.
And that shifted the whole country.
Hawkins argued it was a major factor in the peaceful transition, that Mandela's high consciousness energy field helped lift the collective consciousness, making a different future possible. An energetic shift, not just political.
Fascinating. What about health? You mentioned a connection there.
Yes, Hawkins strongly theorized that those chronic low-level emotions, guilt, fear, apathy, literally weaken our energy field, make us more susceptible to illness.
So being stuck below 200 is bad for your health.
That was his view. Conversely, cultivating higher states, acceptance, love, gratitude, supports the body's natural healing ability. It strengthens the energy field.
Tell me about Victor. He had cancer.
Yes, and was living in constant fear, which would be around 100 on the scale. Very debilitating.
What did he do?
Alongside his medical treatments, he deliberately started working on his inner state. Affirmations, prayer, meditation, focusing on gratitude, surrender, even when it was incredibly hard.
Shifting his consciousness upward.
Exactly, moving into the 300s, 400s. And his doctors noticed. Better energy, better well-being.
Any physical changes?
They even remarked he seemed to heal faster, needed less medication for side effects. It suggests that inner state, that power from within, can really support physical healing.
That's quite compelling. So these individual shifts are clear, but how does this power versus force idea show up in, say, the marketplace, business?
It translates directly, Hawkins argued. Companies operating from higher levels, like integrity, purpose, they build lasting success.
Like Patagonia, you mentioned them.
Right. Strong values, transparency. Calibrating in the 400s. Their success feels authentic, sustainable. It draws people in.
Because it resonates with power.
That's the idea. Contrast that with, say, Enron. Built on lies, greed, calibrating way below 200.
And it imploded. Force isn't sustainable.
Eventually, the truth, which Hawkins saw as a high energy field, comes out. Force collapses under its own weight. He felt consumers often intuitively sense this difference, gravitating towards authenticity.
Okay, that makes sense for business. What about politics? Big movement.
Same principle. Movements rooted in truth, justice, peace. They have an inherent power that sustains them, even against huge odds.
Like Gandhi.
Gandhi's nonviolent movement is a prime example for Hawkins. He calibrated it way up at 700 plus enlightened consciousness.
Wow, that high.
Yes, and facing the might of the British Empire. Seemingly impossible odds.
But they succeeded.
Through moral power, not force. The power of truth, integrity, unity, it overwhelmed the lower energy state of the empire's force, eventually leading to independence. Power trumps force in the long run.
It really seems this framework applies everywhere. What about the arts?
Definitely. Hawkins believed great art elevates consciousness. Think Mozart, Bach, Beethoven. He put their music in the 400s, 500s.
Bringing peace, clarity?
Yes. Capable of inducing those higher states in the listener. Contrast that with, say, some violent music genres or graphic horror films.
Calibrating lower, below 200.
That's often, yes. And he argued they could induce agitation, fear, or emotional numbness in the audience. There was that story about the woman with anxiety.
Right, her symptoms decreased when she switched from violent TV to classical music.
It highlights how much our energetic diet matters. What we consume visually and auditorily affects our state.
And this connects to genius, too, not just IQ.
Exactly. Hawkins saw genius as more than just intellect. It was about accessing those higher levels of consciousness, transcending the ego's limits.
Like Da Vinci or Tesla.
Right. Tesla famously spoke about ideas coming to him fully formed, like downloads.
As if he was receiving them.
Hawkins suggested that happens when the mind is quiet, receptive,
Yeah.
able to tap into that universal database, that higher frequency information, rather than just relying on personal knowledge and effort.
It's a different way of thinking about creativity and insight.
Absolutely. It shifts the focus from the individual ego creating to the individual accessing.
So bringing all these examples together,
Mm-hmm.
how do we personally use this? How do we transform?
The core message from Hawkins is actually quite simple, though not easy. It's about letting go.
Letting go of what?
Ego-based patterns, the striving, the controlling, the fear, the pride, and instead consciously aligning with truth, humility, love, moving up that scale intentionally.
Like that stressed lawyer you mentioned. Calibrating around 175, chasing success.
Yeah, riddled with stress, health problems, operating purely from force ambition, maybe pride.
Until the health scare forced a change.
Right. He made that terrifying leap left corporate law, started volunteering, practicing gratitude, meditating.
A conscious shift towards power.
Exactly. And his health improved. He found real joy, purpose, not through more achievement, but through internal alignment. Moving up the scale changed his whole reality.
It often seems like the letting go is the hardest part.
It absolutely is. Which leads to that insight about the search for truth. Hawkins stressed that true power doesn't come from striving or accumulating knowledge.
Not from the ego trying harder.
No. It arises from humility, from surrender. The ego wants to grasp and control. The heart, aligned with power, wants to serve and connect.
Like Maya, the lifelong seeker.
Perfect example. Read everything, tried everything, searching.
But found peace only when she stopped.
When she finally just surrendered, quieted the mind, asked for guidance, let go of needing to find the answer herself. And in that surrender, peace arrived. The search ended in being, not achieving.
Wow. What a profound journey this deep dive has mapped out.
Yeah.
So if we boil it down one last time, force, ego, reactive, fragile, temporary, needs constant effort.
Right. Pushing, manipulating.
Versus power,
Yeah.
alignment with truth,
Yeah.
self-sustaining, effortless, transformative.
It uplifts everything it touches.
So the takeaway for you, listening, is that by consciously choosing thoughts, actions, intentions that resonate with those higher levels,
Courage, acceptance, reason, love.
you're not just lifting yourself up, you're actually creating ripples, positively impacting those around you.
You contribute to raising the collective vibration, essentially.
So here's a final thought to maybe mull over after we finish. Take a moment and consider, is there any part of your life right now that feels like it's running on force?
Where you feel that drain, that constant effort, that resistance.
And contrast that with areas that feel more like power, where things flow, feel aligned, energizing. Just becoming aware of that distinction.
Yeah.
What might that awareness reveal? What shift could it open up for you?
It's definitely something worth reflecting on.